So there's a conservative movement to teshuva, or a paper which answers an important Jewish question in the community that seemingly nobody asked for. You may be wondering, there's only one like that? To that I say, good point. But this one particularly seemed to me to come out of left field. The teshuva addresses the issue of proper and improper language in our communities, inspired by a perceived increase in the use of curse words in summer camps and other Jewish youth spaces. Now, to be fair, I remember my summers as a madrich, or a counselor, at Camp Young Judea Midwest in Wisconsin, where in preparation for the summer, I would feel obliged to slowly wean myself off the occasional cuss words I may have used in my daily life. I worried that I would accidentally let slip a not-so-nice word in front of the kids at camp and corrupt them beyond repair. Rabbi Elliot Dorff, one of my teachers during my time at the Ziegler School, penned this teshuva, citing the Talmud in various places that writes that inappropriate language leads to the destruction of the Jewish people and should be taken with the utmost seriousness. Whew. When he taught about this teshuva when I was a student in an online summer class during COVID, I remember thinking that this... You good? You good, Steve? Okay. I remember thinking that this teshuva reminded me of the headline in a newspaper featured in an episode of The Simpsons, quote, "Man yells at cloud." I thought that was funny. I argued, can't all be gems. I argued to the rabbi that using an occasional curse word could be healthy for socialization. I even brought scientific articles showing evidence that cursing reduces the body's reception of pain in situations from stubbing your toe to enduring a painful procedure. Sometimes you got to do it. But in his usual humble way, he acknowledged the science, but shrugged as if to say, well, unfortunately, that is what the Torah requires of us. What can you do? While obviously not appropriate in every context, kids, okay? I left the class feeling secure that an occasional swear word was not going to be the thing that would lead to the demise of the Jewish people. However, it has always been interesting to me that we refer to using profanity as cursing. While we don't think of the classic idea of placing a curse on someone when we speak these words, profanity can be wielded in an equivalent way, especially when particularly directed at someone who is making you angry or threatening you. And no matter my perspective on the issue, there is no doubt that in our tradition, words have great power to bring blessings and to curse. Famously, the Torah sees God as speaking the entire universe into being, from which the rabbis derive that we too create worlds with our words. The psalmist writes, "Who is the one who desires life, loves their days to see the good? Protect your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. Sticks and stones break bones, and words, in fact, can hurt you," says our tradition. In our Parsha, Balak, after multiple parshiot focusing on rebellions, crises, laws, and transitions in the Israelite camp, the camera angle shifts to show how the nations around the Israelites are seeing them, and they are freaked out. In the previous Parsha, the Israelites defended themselves against the Amorites who attacked them and ended up conquering their land. This is the thing that leads Balak, the king of Moab, to his unfounded fear in this Parsha that the Israelites are coming for him next. The solution, interestingly, is not another attempt to attack the Israelites with force. Perhaps seeing that this did not go well for the Amorites, Balak understands there is some divine support underlying the Israelites' success in battle, and it is that spiritual backing that they need to undermine first before they can defeat them. And so Balak enlists the best spiritual fixer in the region, Balaam, to commune with God, to curse the Israelites, thus weakening them and diffusing the perceived threat to his people. However, the process of cursing the Israelites is not as simple as Balak bargained for. Balaam, the non-Jewish prophet, understands that blessing and curse are not simply in the hands of human beings. When it comes to God's special people, God must approve this message. And despite Israel's rebellions, complaints, and misbehavior, God inexplicably is still on Israel's side, refusing to let them be cursed by Balaam, transforming his message into blessing. It seems so obvious to those of us who know the story that God would not allow any harm to befall Israel in this episode. Yet, if we think about it, a few times already in the book of Numbers, God has threatened to destroy the whole people in one moment for their uprising. He's caused the earth to swallow Korach and his followers, and has condemned a whole generation to die in the wilderness before entering the land. So God is not always so ready to defend the Israelites in every instance. But here, suddenly, God is ready to come to their aid. And I wondered, why should this be? Well, perhaps one answer is that God and the people were on good terms at that moment. God in the Torah, like human beings, gets angry, threatens, lashes out, and then with the passage of time, or a calming message from Moshe, returns to calm and a strong relationship with the people. The people at that moment were not sinning, and God returned to God's foundational posture of love towards them. Yet while this explanation is valid, it may be only part of the answer. As I said, this Parsha is unique as it focuses mainly outside of the Israelite camp, seeing the Israelites from the perspective of the nations around them. What does this different viewpoint teach us? Well, in every other situation in Bamidbar, God has been the one to threaten God's own people. Here it is now outsiders who are trying to threaten God's people, and that, I think, makes all the difference. Many a sitcom or movie have featured a couple that fights constantly and shouts the most awful things at each other, but when someone outside of the relationship verbally attacks one of them, the other partner rises to their defense, saying, "Hey, you don't get to call him an idiot, I get to do that." Sometimes it's the intimacy of a relationship, a friendship, or a cultural group that allows occasional attacks or negative language within that trusted group. But the minute someone outside the group tries to make an off-color joke or comment about a member of the in-group, all bets are off. Only Jews get to make jokes about being Jewish, especially if they involve stereotypes. The minute someone else not Jewish does it, they're in dangerous territory. Balaam in this parsha, I think, understands that this applies also to the divine human relationship. How can I curse whom God has blessed? He asks rhetorically, as if to say, how can I butt into a divine relationship and dare to offer curses to a people that God loves? Not only am I unable to do so, but the reaction could be a death sentence for me. Curses are dangerous between people. And how much more so between God and human beings. And Balaam perhaps understood another issue with the job of cursing people. When Balak requests his services, he directs him to Lecha Arali, go curse for me. The Midrash in Bamidbar Rabbah, in a great compendium of Midrash, reads Li, not as for me, but to me. Effectively rereading Balak's request as go curse me. The Midrash understands a lesson from this, that this fortuitous misspeaking points to the idea that whoever curses anyone curses themselves. The act of cursing others inherently comes back to the cursor. The act is inherently dangerous to the person who brings curses into the world. And maybe, just maybe, that's what so concerned Rabbi Elliot Dorff and caused him to write that whole teshuvah about inappropriate speech. From his perspective, curse words inherently have a power and a danger, as they have an effect not just on the object of the curses, but on the subjects as well. There are moments when I admit that I personally get angry at the driver on the road, and maybe I curse them out a little bit. Even when driving alone, though, I have a sense that while the action maybe relieves temporarily some stress and anger, it leaves an impression not on the driver, who can't even hear me, but on myself. I am the one who's left with whatever angry, mean thing I just said, and no amount of yelling accomplishes what I want or really relieves my upset. And so while I think as adults, occasionally some swearing in the right age and context can be healthy, there is a way that cursing others is a self-defeating process. No matter what you do, the speech comes back to you. So next time you, say, get cut off on the highway, or somebody says something rude to you, or maybe you get in a heated political argument, try to do what God did for Bilam. Transform your curses into blessings. Try, just for a second, to take a breath, see the deeper goodness in even frustrating, difficult people, and access what needs to be blessed in them. I know folks in Texas and the South are already good at this when they offer a bless your heart, when what they really want to say is the opposite. But what I'm proposing is a real wholehearted blessing. Understand that we all, as people, have bad moments, and we need to be given the benefit of the doubt sometimes. Bless them with what it feels like they are lacking in that moment. Patience, peace, understanding, or happiness. If we do this, it makes us just a little bit like God in this Parsha, who sees beyond the moments where the Israelites stoked God's anger and looks at the bigger picture of the person, of the people. Then you can look at your fellow human being and say, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. How good each of us is in our true essence, if we just take a second to look. Shabbat Shalom.